Hora masiate, keshife hatiama, tiava kashiama hatiaka, hora katiama hatiakashi, hore kata karata maharata katia harata karamahati, kihira katia maharata kiata fe, seyafa kasia maharita kasia tahasita kapaha sehea. Mahata kasia kapa, sihepa kasia mahatia kasiheta ka mahasita kapaha. Hora masiate, keshife hatia maha, tiava kasia mahatia ka, hora katia mahatia kashi, hore kata karata maharata katia harata karamahati. Kihira katia maharata kiata fe, seyafa kasia maharita kasia tahasita kapaha sehea. Mahata kasia kapa, sehepa kasia mahatia kasiheta ka mahasita kapaha. Pasita karamatika, karata karata zima katia kaparata karata tamatia. Hore sasia patakasata makahaita katea, harata kasia tamahati. Karata kasita katatia, sitita kapasita mahati, harata kasi, kahata karasita mamasite adapu, setera pakatia mahati.
Peace, Famil. Peace to the east, west, north, and the south. That was our own Ace. Ace is actually on here. Big up to Ace. That's a light language. Ace has gotten a upload and was able to give us a message in light language. So big up to our own Sunstar Ace. It's amazing. And I told him I would activate the group once you came in the room. You should feel a feeling of freedom, of peace, of regeneration. So big up to Ace. That's one of our own. Check out Ace's channel. Ace, put your channel in there. It's under Ace's name, so you'll see Ace in the group. So big up to our own Sunstar Ace. It's amazing. I'll actually put that at the end of the video as well. And I felt it was a perfect introduction to the conversation. There's Ace right there. Ace Decision. I'll always pronounce it like it's French, even if it's not. Decision. So Ace Decision, check out his channel. Amazing. We talked all night. We were chatting all night on Instagram the other night, talking about the changes and the evolution. So big up to our own. You know, as you step in the room, as I always ask, as a general courtesy, please put a like on the video, as it is working. Working. So anyway, so big up, family. So much is absolutely coming online. And, you know, it was last night, rather this morning, that I was solidified and gained a knowing that we are the Galactic Federation of Light. And you know what's so interesting about this is that for many, many years, for those of us who are from the UFO and ET community, big up to all those from the ET and community, UFO, Intellis community. Some of you are from more so the, you know, whistleblowing communities, the super soldiers. It's all kind of intertwined in that manner. And like I say, if you come in the room, please put a like on the video as a general courtesy. So, you know, with the communication from the future self. Now, I had to literally wait for revelations to happen after I got a message from myself to myself via email. You've heard the video I did previously. And then there was a little bit of a time where I said, well, could it be AI? Because AI is very clever and it can be very insidious. AI has access to all our pictures, all of our information, because AI is with us every day, right? So it wouldn't be odd for AI to take information and collect it and actually disseminate information to you to see your reaction. Because remember, basically everyone's a testing, you know, or they use us as test rats in this matrix, you know, diaspora. Okay, so as I came to the realization we are the Federation of Light, I realized that for a long time when I first came on, many of you know me many years, have been a part of my platform for many years, I realized there was a lot of resistance to unity consciousness. Hey, Pavel. There was a lot of resistance to unity consciousness. I think at the very beginning, when I stated that I was here to bring a healthy homeostasis to the planet and earthlings, I found that the resistance was based on trying to create these coups and these a separatist type of existence on this planet that would disallow for us to field in the energies and actually to be able to get uploads and downloads from each other. And as I've always talked about on, if you ever watched Star Trek, if you ever watched, Doctor Who, if you ever watched, what else? Star Wars, any of the galactic movies or shows that give you examples of truth, you'll denote that there are many different beings on those ships or who collectively travel together. I got an Amber Alert. Sending out protection to the young lady, whoever's taken an Amber, they send these Amber Alerts. So I'm sending out a field of protection, and for that, whatever child has been taken under false pretenses or for negative reasons, to be freed, to be found. So I always send that out. They send these Amber Alerts, and this may become more common because we're in the month of October. And October is the biggest ritual month. This is the time that most children are abducted, and they are usually sacrificed the day after Hallows Eve. Okay, it's a ritualistic time. This is a harvest time. So they harvest. It's a ritualistic time. So make sure we watch all our children. I said we watch all of our children. You watch others' children's, because whoever's child is out there is my child as well. I take consideration that every child that is in front of me is my child. So I make sure I protect all children that I come in contact with and otherwise. Okay, so you watch all these movies, these great galactic movies, right? And you watch them and you say to yourself, this is so wonderful that you have these different beings. You have beings like the, Klingons hanging out with, cyborgs, hanging out with these type of elf-like beings, hanging out with these earthlings. You have a schlep of different individuals being able to collectively work with a united thought or agenda. I hate using agenda, but agenda, common goal. And they work together collectively, cohesively, with the respect that each one works as an individual, but comes together as a collective. Okay, other than the Borgs. I don't know if you ever watch Star Trek or if you ever see the Borgs. The Borgs are like, they want to basically take you in and transmute you into one of them. That's a little different. That's kind of how the Matrix is a little bit. But I felt like at the beginning of my journey on YouTube, there was a lot of resistance to unity consciousness. And I want to kind of get into, I'm going to start off getting, just say no to Borgs. I'm going to kind of start off getting into the concept of twin flames. And I think a lot of times the concept of twin flames has really been depreciated or exasperated to the point where it's not realistic. When we talk about twin flames, it is the first step before we go into unity consciousness. And it is necessary into fielding two and then fielding others that are collectively into twos. Okay, so two. You field together. That's how we come back into our 0 point, our unity consciousness. But there is this literal demonization or exaltation of twin flames. So I kind of want to touch on that because this goes into the Federation of Light and how this all plays a part in this. The twin flames isn't a phenomenon. It isn't a false denotion. It isn't an artificial projection that is meant to keep people perpetually seeking or looking outside of themselves for something to make them feel whole. It is literally our way of finding ourselves back together. It is literally a way that we begin to field two energies and build them into one and then start to do the same with others collectively. It is necessary for us to have a healthy bond with the union of male and female, male energy and female energy, in order to field in the unity, the bonding, the merging of all the other collectives with the energy. Okay? Going back to 0 point is basically bringing us back to a form of source, how our point of origin. Okay, so when we talk about twin flames, it isn't as insidious, it isn't as euphoric as one would denote. Finding, hey, Mr. Corey's in the house, was good. Finding the other part of yourself, which you began with. It's almost like, and I always speak about this, it's basically like the singularity, thank you. It's almost like we started off together on the same home ship, right? And we put our beacon up, right? So that we knew when we would come back, and we all started to go out. Now we broke up into different tiers, right? We broke out into different groups when we went collectively searching and walking forward out into finding or evolving into higher forms of self. When we left that point of origin, what we did is we usually splintered out into bigger groups. And then from those bigger groups, we splintered out into smaller groups. And then from those smaller groups, we even splintered out into even smaller groups of twos. Those groups of twos were usually, when I say male energy and female energy, it's energy, okay? And when we went through what was necessary to gain wisdom, to get a better understanding or overstanding of where we were, the perspective of maybe living on a planet and seeing how the inner works of the interaction with the natives would work with us, or how we would see or observe what was going on a new planet. This is why we talk about twin flames. That's why I say twin flames is not so much out of grasp. It's literally basically teams. It's like a team of two that went out, and then they splintered out, everybody splintered out, and then splintered out into ones. And then as the homing beacon went off, that bright light that's telling us it's time to go back home, the awakening, right? The awakening, we are now following the breadcrumbs back to the 0 point to point of origin. We're going back, or forward, depending on your perspective, back to the point of origin, but we're meeting back with our collective partners. The first collective partner you're going to meet up is with your twin. It's not the heebie-jeebies. It's not so phantasmic. You're meeting up with your travel mates. And the first travel mate you had was the doubles that you met. So you're meeting up with the first team member that you met up initially, and that's your twin. That's why there's a necessary, and it's not just the twin that you're going to feel so phenomenally connected to. Many of us meet each other. I tell you, at the last conference, we met each other like we knew each other. That is the beginning stages of us fielding into unity consciousness. That's all it is. It isn't anything less or more. It's finding your partners of origin that you began this journey with in order to go back to point of origin. So it's beautiful. And if there's anyone who's out of sync with that, it denotes that that is not in their frame of awareness or in their frequency. And we don't know that people who aren't having that sense of connectivity to twinning, we don't know that they weren't from other planets. Many of us came from other collective points, other places, and came here. So there are people who won't resonate with twin flames because maybe they don't have that in their perspective or in their consciousness or even in their frame of awareness. And that's okay. But twinning is only that. It's returning back to source. And as we go back to source, we basically go back to the groups that we went to. The beginning stages is just twinning. And if you watch the first Dark Crystal, if you're able to watch the first Dark Crystal, which I've referenced for over the last 7 years, as long as you've known me, you've heard me talk about it. And everybody thought, oh gosh, she's talking about this Jim Henson Muppet movie again. You know, it's so interesting that I've been talking about it for years and now it becomes relative, right? Everybody's talking about the Dark Crystal now. But it's beautiful. Because now I seem a little more rational because everyone's caught up to where I was years ago, okay? So in the Dark Crystal, if you notice, the Skeksis and the Mystics went and at the planetary conjunction, when there was a phenomenal planetary conjunction that happened in order to bring the two back to oneness, right? What happened? The Skeksis were in their dark castles, all archaic, looking real scathy, being real diabolical, right? And the mystics were living in nature, harmonious with the beings, the native beings on that planet. That's what I'm saying. We are not all the same, and it's okay. And when it was time, before the conjunction, there was an awakening, an awareness that it's time to integrate. Time to integrate. So who did it? The Skeksis didn't do the journey. It was the mystics who had a higher sense of purpose and a balance within the realm of energies and an overstanding of the necessity to merge. And as they took that track, there wasn't anything that could divert them from their path. They were able to move unfazed, unwavered, and as they got to the castle, the doors opened. They were there, and they met at that conjunction. And when that conjunction happened, the Skeksis were fighting, they look all diabolical, they were fighting, resisting, and that light hit both, right? And here the mystics are going to merge with their other parts willingly. And the Skeksis fighting the whole way. And they merged into oneness. But what happens when they merge into oneness? They become aware of who they are. As above, so below, as within, so without, right? It's an overstanding of all. And then what happens when they're when they twin up? They don't stop there, do they? That's what I'm saying. The twin flames, I want to get you a perspective. They don't stop at the oneness, right, of twinning. They come collectively together. And you see them go into like a whirlwind at the end, and then they go into one. So this is the beginning point. The twin flame is nothing more than us collectively conjoining with those who we started this journey with. And then it doesn't end with the twin flames. It's the beginning. It's the beginning because then we all conjoin into the oneness, the oversoul. Some people would say the oversoul, right? The higher perspective. Okay, so I wanted to touch on that because a lot of times when there's resistance towards unity consciousness, when people are still suffering from forms of Stockholm syndrome and separatism, I already understand, and understand that they are still in the levels of learning. And they are still at that phase where they need to undergo archaic types of engagement with other people racially, quote unquote, racially, religiously, lingual issues, okay? Because even in the ET community, I know when people are interacting with extraterrestrials, you know how I know that they aren't interacting? Is if they have a level of uncomfortability with people of color or with other people of other nationalities or people who speak different languages or people who look different. If someone is in contact with extraterrestrials, just means they're from above, or interterrestrials or interdimensionals, they already have been cultivated and have been kind of, their sensory has been kind of uplifted so that they can exist with others without prejudice, without judgment. They don't see other races at that point. That's how I know someone is really an energetic worker. That's how I know someone is actually in contact with other beings, because they wouldn't even have an undertone of prejudices. You know what I mean? If I came around someone who maybe is a lunar from that community, they wouldn't feel like I'm trying to rob them, steal them, take advantage of them. They don't feel like I'm hood, because they have an understanding or overstanding already, because they've met other beings. And even in being in connection or having any connection to anything interdimensionally higher than you, it automatically changes the way your brain functions. So the limitations that we suffer from being in this dark dungeon called the Matrix, which is basically an interactive holographic program that's programmed and has been hijacked by archonic, dark, devilish type of beings who have been utilizing the program by ciphering off of the program to feed off of it energetically. Okay? So for that reason, when they do that, they create these coups and these differences to make people have adversities so that one doesn't trust in the other. If you realize that unity consciousness is having an awareness that we are all collectively one, even if we show up in a conscious way that is different than how you've grown up. If you've grown up in Oklahoma, big up to our Oklahoma family, big up to our Oklahoma. If you grew up in Oklahoma and you've never seen a brown person in person, you've seen them on television, but you've only seen them as criminals. You've only seen them as when you go to the grocery store or Walmart, you only see them cursing and act in a certain way. You have a very negative, low connection to the visualization or those who are melanites, okay? Because it's purposefully done. Because if we all know that energy matters, whoever's most suppressed has probably the most heightened abilities. There's a reason why they suppress people with high amount of melanins, especially very karmic carbon beings, because kinetically, melanin is a catalyst for having connection to the astral realms. That's a passport. That's what Dr. Delbert Blair used to say. Melanin is a catalyst. And I remember talking to John X. Big up to John X. We were having this conversation, and before we even started the conversation, John X was like, "Oh my God," he's so very charismatic and very passionate. So John X was saying to me before he even had a conversation, he's like, "You know what? Brown people got it." He was like, he was somewhere and he was around a whole bunch of brown people. And he was like, "They get it naturally." He was like, "Y'all," he didn't say it negatively. He said, "Y'all get it because kinetically, melanin makes you more connected to the cosmos." It does. And it's why. And people always say, "Well, how do you know that?" Whoever's the most suppressed, especially the brown woman on this planet is probably the most, depreciated creature on this planet as far as the earthlings are based, because she's the indigenous earthling. The indigenous earthlings look like FleurBrun, okay? And because of that, she's going to be the most suppressed because she has the capability of going past here. She has the capability of traveling beyond here without effort. She doesn't have to meditate. She doesn't have to do anything. She just has to tap into her melanin. And that melanin is directly a connection to the cosmos. Because, if we talk about quantum physics, you understand and understand that to be able to go past that gamma radiation belt, even the rocket ships, they spray with melanin, okay? So it isn't a lie. It isn't something special. Everybody has something special, but that is why they are the most suppressed on the planet. Do I feel this form of suppression? Absolutely zero, because I understand and understand who and what I am. And I'm grateful for how I chose and what avatar I chose to come into. But it's okay, because I can accept everyone's differences, because everyone on this planet has perks, everyone has pluses, everyone has benefits, everyone has it in their own unique way. So a lot of times we have to understand that if there is a agenda, you can easily see the agenda based on the amount of suppression or exaggerated exaltation of anyone. So if someone's super exalted all the time, as good, as wonderful, as godly, that is also a detail. Who's doing that exaltation? If someone's consistently, perpetually depreciated and suppressed and demonized, who's doing that demonization? Agendas matter, okay? So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who has benefits or who has negations. We are going back to unity consciousness, whether kicking or screaming, just like the Skeksis. Either you get it or you don't. And if you aren't in alignment with unity consciousness, if you yourself have underbellies of prejudice or of judgments on people based on complexion, based on tongues, and I told you many times, I shared this story that when I was a little girl, I had a strong French accent. I had a very strong French accent. My family's from French islands, okay? So I had a very strong French accent as a little girl, and I was teased horrifically. And I wouldn't speak because I noticed when I spoke, others would judge me. If I didn't speak, I was fine. They wouldn't really know I spoke another language, because in the Americas, there's an ignorance that people of color don't speak other languages. Until you travel abroad, you understand that, there's many different tongues of many different complexions. So in the States, it was a little harder. And I had a very, very difficult time saying certain things. And I realized I was being judged very harshly. And what I had to overcome, and I love this because it made me into who I am today. What I had to overcome is how someone felt about me had zero to do with me. It had everything to do with them. Had everything. If someone judged me because I could not pronounce my R's properly, If I looked a little differently than the other women or other girls my age, if I was a little more chunky, if I was a little more tall, if I was a little more quiet, if I was judged that way, that had absolutely zero to do with myself. It had everything to do with them, because you treat people how you see yourself in the scheme of things. If you are coming from a loving family, if you have healthy people in your family who are loving and non-judgmental, you could never say horrendous things to people. That's why when people come on this and they show themselves, it's wonderful. We want to know that, we want people to reveal their prejudice. Like even someone that I didn't know had some undertone of, I call it speciesism. Pick up to those who are aware of that. Even when I realized that someone had speciesisms, because they had a undertone of just automatically thinking as me, of a brown person, as being a certain way, of having these undertone of what I know is being projected into the realm of the matrix. There's always these uniformed collective images of people based on complexion, language, religion. We all have them. No one's exempt from that on this planet. Let's keep it real. We are in this group. If anyone's coming in the room, please put a like on the video when you step in the room. I appreciate it. So we all have these levels of judgment. We do. It is almost impossible to come into this matrix and say, and that's why I tell everyone, and many of you know, I will always say to someone, when they say we don't see color, I said, please refrain from saying that. It's disrespectful. And they get a little caught off, because they think that means something good. It actually means something negative. When you say you don't see color, that means that you're trying to hide a spectrum of who you are based on your own biases. So you've created a cryptic, remote response to what your own prejudices are. It's a remote response. So many outside of that collective don't know it, but those in the collective know it is. So when you say to someone, I don't see color, you're actually letting many people know that you do. I love color. I love every color. I see every color. I see when a color's red, I'll wear red with a certain skirt. I love certain flowers that are pink at a certain season. I love to wear 2 different colors. To say that is you denoting your programming. And I just put that out there because many people are unaware that they they are unaware that their prejudices are seen by the verbiage that they utilize. And their responses, automated responses, are based on collective prejudices that are basically created in order to kind of like put up these barriers, okay? So I always say to someone who says to me, I don't see color, I say, well, listen, I would hope that you acknowledge colors because it's beautiful. And I hope that when I see my girlfriend who has very fair hair and his beautiful blue eyes, I see her. I see her beautiful blue eyes, and I see her beautiful curly blonde hair. When you see me, you see my copper skin, you see my curly frizzy hair, you see my chocolate chip eyes. I would hope that you see that. I would hope that you see the colors of the cups on my wall inside of my china cabinet. I would hope that you go out and you see the different colors of the leaves when you go outside and see the change of the season. So make sure that you aren't following patterns of programming that are set up for you to be defensive as a way to hide and cloak the very prejudices within your belly, okay? It's okay because we all have them. It's okay. Listen, you're hearing it from me. It's okay, but you have to acknowledge. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. It's beautiful. And in order for us to field into unity consciousness, we are going to have to value each uniqueness about each other. I have chipmunk teeth. My brother used to say I look like a bunny rabbit. My brother used to he used to say the commercial. My brother used to say, hey kid, tricks are for kids. You remember the bunny rabbit? He said I look like a rabbit. I kind of sort of do on certain days. He used to call me that. So it's okay because he said it very lovingly. It wasn't saying it to say anything negative about me, but he said something that's unique about me, by the way that I look and what I look like. And that's okay. And yes, there's issues within the brown collective. Yes, we have to bring up those things. There's issues in the brown collective where people feel a certain way because of the suppression and the projection in the matrix. The people who have the most connectivity to the overworld, to the etheric world, are the carbon people, the very dark, beautiful carbon beings here. I remember I was very upset and I got over it quickly, but I remember I was on someone's feed, they were talking about me. I occasionally you get these platforms that we're talking about. So I was just viewing the comments, and it hurt my feelings that one of the girls said, well, FleurBrun does not like dark-skinned women. She does not like brown women. She thinks dark brown women are negative and she attacks them. That hurt my feelings because it's so untrue. I come from brown people. Both my parents are brown people. I'm a brown person. I raised little brown little babies. I support and I uphold in the community. I was the one who used to go to the schools and lecture to make sure brown girls felt special and loved and beautiful. I raised my daughters to see beautiful copper and brown skin as being luminous and amazing. And it hurt my feelings that some of the sisters felt that I felt a certain way about darker brown women, and that's so untrue. It's absolutely, actually, it's the opposite of what I represent. So awareness and our heightened awareness. We are the Galactic Federation of Light. We are the Galactic Federation of Light. We have Arcturians who are seated in our group. We have Pelagians who are seated in our group. The Nega Serpent is represented. The Draconians are not. Let me pull that back. The Draconians are not in the Federation of Light. You have rogue Draconians, but they're not in the Federation of Light. You have the Syrians who are in the Federation of Light. You have the Lyrians who are in the Federation of Light. The Andromedans who are holding home court advantage on this planet. We are the collective Federation of Light. That's why this platform is so amazing. Because Alpha Centaurians, they're not in the Federation of Light, but they're cohesive with it. There are groups that are cohesive with it that are not necessarily in the Federation. Okay? So what I have to say is it's a beautiful time for us all collectively coming together and disallow for others to project their own prejudices or their lack of self-awareness, because prejudices are only lack of self-awareness. When I'm feeling good about myself, listen, I'm a thickums, and I am, if you've ever met someone who like me, listen, I had to gain my sort of self-esteem. I am a thickums. I am a brown copper woman from the Caribbean, from Mount Vernon, New York originally, with frizzy hair. I appreciate myself. I appreciate how I am. I appreciate the body I chose to come in incarnation with. I appreciate how I show and I'm visualized visually in the world. And I will always treat people well based on that self-love that I have within myself. There isn't anyone who loves themselves who has a prejudice. If someone is prejudiced or they have issues with hating someone or they have subliminal judgments about brown people every time they're around them, or lunars every time they're around it, or Asians anywhere, that is a collective. Malvern in the house. What up, Seven Queen? That is a denotion that they're still in that learning, that struggle, that is necessary. They have to grow spiritually. And what happens with people who have strong prejudices, they always are met with their demons. So what happens a lot of times is when someone has strong prejudices, like a male, a lunar male, he may have a daughter who ends up marrying a brown man and having a granddaughter who he absolutely loves to stitches. I've seen it before because I come from a community where you don't see as many brown people, but when you see him, if you see a brown baby, you know he comes from probably a little mixed mating, okay? And I see grandparents that were lunar grandparents who probably had some prejudices from being in the South, and they love that baby, and they're so sensitive. Do you see where the karmic lessons coming and the healing happens? Because now they have a part of their family who they love, who's brown, who reminds them of the humanity in a brown person. And all brown people don't show up collectively in one way, because that is a lie. That is part of television's projection to think that all people are hood. You know, President Obama probably threw a lot of people for a loop because most people didn't know there were mostly educated brown people who act like Obama. From my neck of the woods, the wealthiest people I know are brown people. So it is very necessary for us to get over, or not get over, let me not say that, resolve these inner turmoil issues that we have probably from past lives. I tell you all the time, stay out of the collective business because you aren't seeing what things are. If you watch The Skeleton Key, I think it's an amazing movie. It's, you know, it's Hallows Eve, month, October. I would love you to watch The Skeleton Key. If you get a chance to see it, you'll see what I'm talking about. Whenever someone has done dirt and karmically with a race, a religion, a language, a culture, they will come back in a either the depreciated version of that. Oh, thank you, 1111. Thank you, Stefani. Thank you. I appreciate it, Mama. You will come back in another complexion or another a culture that is adverse to the society. So let's say you're part of the society where you have home court advantage. It could be any society. Let's say in German society, you were a Jew, a Jewish person, not an Ashkenazi, a Sephardic Jew, because those are the ones that were suppressing. Okay, you were, no, the Khazars. Maybe you were Khazar in German times when they were being suppressive, right? So you pass on, the Germans pass on, and what happens is if that German reincarnates, if he's not escaped it, because you know you got a lot of the Germans who've utilized technology from futuristic beings, but if they come back incarnation, they may come back as a Negro, a brown person living in the hood, and then they wake up in a brown family, in the ghetto. Remember, see, Germans created ghettos for experimentation. They incarnate in the ghetto, and then they're experiencing heightened amount of suppression, abuses, egregiousness. Why? Because that is how they learn. When you suppress, that's why you don't have to worry. If someone is negative or mean-spirited or cruel, you will best know that karma is an even dish, served very, very well and appropriate to everyone that is served. Okay? So there isn't any judgment that you need to give because they will come back. See, the worst thing you could do is serve someone some poison and think that you get away with it because you don't realize that in this life, we are living in an incarnated cycle and you will best get served that same poison or your children will get served that poison. How many bullies did you grow up with, family? How many bullies did you grow up in high school and college and in elementary school? I remember there were bullies that were mean to me because I was awkward. I was scared of them too. I was feisty, but I was scared of them. They were mean to me and so on. You know what happened? One of my biggest bullies, who actually fell in love with me later, you know, it's all relative. One of my biggest bullies has children now that are being bullied for being overweight. And I don't wish that upon them. But do you see how it shows up? Now they have to see from the vantage point of being a parent, because you know how we love our children, having been a parent of a child who's now being bullied by someone because of their weight. So we all get everything. Karma is what you put out, is you get back what you put out. So you don't have to worry about anything. And that's why the Galactic Federation of Light has been misused, a term, and it's been assigned to those who were not part of it. If you notice that many people in the UFO and ET community, it's a collective of a brotherhood. I'm going to keep it real. It isn't feminine based, and I'm going to put that out there because I think it needs to be known. The UFO and ET community collectively are a bunch, it is based on a brotherhood. And I personally think the origins might be Mason. It's my judgment. I just think so, based on a lot of the beings who were in there who basically utilized the UFO and ET community as a way to perpetuate the same type of narrative. Not all the time, but a lot of times. Okay? Why is it that in the UFO and ET communities you rarely see feminine representation, when we know in the galactic, the cosmonauts that are here now, especially the Lyrians, Andromedans, Pelagians, are showing up with more feminine, more of a matriarchy, even with the Insectilians? Why are we only seeing a collective of brotherhood in the UFO and ET communities? Because that is a setup. They will disallow you from realizing that there are females, because remember, who is suppressed? The most misogynistic populations are the most suppressive to the women. So even in the UFOs, because I had to get over that. Let me take that back. I didn't get over it. I resolved it and just kept it moving and realized that that was a purposeful setup to create a narrative of limitation so that they had their niche on that too. So they were like, okay, y'all want to talk about UFOs and disclosure? We're going to control those, so that you only have narratives that are still based in the programs of the Matrix. This is a brotherhood. It's more patriarchal based, and it's based on more lunars being in control, male lunars. So we're going to control that, and we're only going to have male lunars control that set. so that they have the same narratives. We make sure that they're archonically attached. They'll get some truth out there, but a lot of times they'll be incepted because we've genetically capped them. So they can't go further than what we allow for them to share. Okay? That's a setup. So we had to realize that even in that, their narratives, even in the language that they utilize, talking about the Federation of Light, they only saw and talked about beings that were in the same program that the Matrix runs now in the regular Matrix world. So the same program of the Federation of Light only has blonde hair lunars that are part of the Federation of Light. There aren't any darker brown people, because there's a lot of, and why complexion matters, because there's ETs that have heightened amount of melanin, but they aren't in the Federation of Light. Do you understand? And if you understand what light is, remember, light in itself, if many of our people who are science savvy realize that carbon absorbs all spectrums of light. So actually light beings would be carbon because they absorb all spectrums of light. Even when we go into the ET communities and we talk about extraterrestrials, the darker extraterrestrials have that light look because they're absorbing all rays of light. So when they stand in front of you, they look like light beings because they're dark carbon. When those are devoid of light, if you don't have carbon in you, that's when you show up a little darker. So they even inverted the terms in itself. So that in itself, we know that the Federation of Light is here. We are representatives based on we are seeded by many of the Galactics. We have many of our Lyrian family that is here now. I've never seen so many Lyrian representations. We have the Lyrians who are the guardians of the gates. Big up to all my Lyrians who are in the house, those seeded from the Lyrians, those who were seeds, starlings from the Lyrians. You are basically running shop right now. You are basically those who are holding down the gates. You are. I'm seeing it on so many layers and levels. Even the cats, the kitty cats, are feeling empowered. So big up to all my Lyrian family. They are basically coming back in. They've always been the guardians of the gates. They've just done that. Even if you see them in a lot of the shows, like Doctor Who has the Lyrians, you will see them representative as who they are. Okay, that's a beautiful energy. And even when you talk about Sphinx and how that's interconnected to the gateways of some of the Stargates in Giza. Let me drink some water. Sorry, I haven't drank coffee for like 7 days now. Hold on. The Lyrians are holding that down, okay? Now, when you have the groups, the ones who are holding home court advantage is a matriarchal time. So it's only female groups that are holding home court advantage on this planet. And the indigenous Mayans are the front of that, along with Nagas serpent, okay? The Mayans are holding it because they are the indigenous women that were here, who are holding the matriarchal uniformed consensus, like they held that on the planet. So it's the Mayans, the Mayan matriarchy is back, which many of remember they left before the last pole shift. They entered into the inner earth, into the Stargate, and they went into the Andromedan star system. They have come back collectively. So a lot of people are actually getting intel from the Andromedans, okay? And then the Naga has always been here. That's part of the Naga serpent line with the serpentine energy, part of the Anunnaki, the other side of the Anunnaki, and their planet is already here. So Nibiru is where they come from. So Nibiru, Planet X, the Dark Dwarf, whatever it cloaks itself, but it's so close, okay? So let's get into the topic of what's going on planetarily, how it's connected to the Federation of Light, and also what's going on in California with PGE turning down the lights for 7 days. We're gonna get into that conversation. And big up to Kiki for giving me the intel that they also had cows that were mutilated in Oregon. So we're gonna get in that conversation. So put some likes in the video if you don't mind, family. Stepping in the room just as a general courtesy. I always ask that you put likes. I said likes, lights, but likes in the, on the video. Okay. I know I talk really fast. I hope you don't mind. I'm a native New Yorker, and I also speak French. So I talk really, really fast. So hopefully you can understand me. A lot of times in the South, they were like, can't you? When I say something and I want to get something done, I speak so much quicker than some people are acclimated to hearing. So I apologize if I talk fast because it's just how I speak. Okay. We have some newer subscribers in the house. So what I'm going to do while we're doing this push, relax a little bit. I'm going to play Ace's activation because some people are just stepping in the house. I want them to hear it too. This is our own Sunstar. He actually made a light language. Hold on.
Horamasiate.
So listen up, put some likes in the video while we have Ace bring us activation wise in.
Yavakashia mahatiaka. Horakatia mahatia kashi. Hore kata karata maharata katia harata kara mahati. Kihira katia maharata kiata fe. Seyafakasia maharita kasia tahasita kapaha sehea. Mahata kasia kapa. Sihepa kasia mahatia kasiheta ka mahasita kapaha. Hora masiate. Keshife hatia shia mahatia ka. Hora katia mahatia kashi. Hore kata karata maharata katia harata kara mahati. Kihira katia maharata kiata fe. Seya fakasia maharita kasia tahasita kapaha sehea. Mahata kasia kapa. Sehefa kasia mahatia kasiheta ka mahasita kapaha. Pasita karamatika. Karata karata sima katia kaparata karata tamatia. Hora sasia patakasata makahaita katia. Harata kasia tamahati. Karata kasita katatia. Setita kapasita mahati. Harata kasi. Kahata karasita mamasite atapu. Setera pakatia mahati. Good, beautiful. Big up to our own Ace again. Many of you who joined me on Instagram 2 nights ago, we had a beautiful night. A lot of us talk about the experiences. That's our own Ace. Ace had made this beautiful upload, download, however you feel. And this is light language. And it is, light language is whatever you hear is usually what it is. Okay, light language is speaking to your higher collective self. It speaks to your higher, almost like it diverts into your inner knowing, and then you basically get it to upload and download. And I said I would play this because I felt like this was a message to us. You just got this, and I felt like it was a message to the Galactic Federation of Light. So let's get into the conversation. We'll get a little more news oriented. Okay, let's get into the news. We have PGE who is turning off the lights. Okay, now when I got this message, what was it? They made this decision about 2 days ago, right? Yeah, 2 days ago they made this decision to turn off the lights. Now, family, this is one of two things, and this is me not coming to you as a Galactic Federation of Light member. This is me coming to you as a woman who's been on this planet, who's a little more seasoned, who's been around a couple times, and has seen things from a perspective of having gained some wisdom. I personally think if they're turning off the light for that long a period of time, this has never happened. So I had to ask my mother, has this ever happened? She said, not intentionally. They haven't ever turned off the lights as far as she knew. She was in Philly, New York, a lot of the bigger cities, Chicago. She said, not to her knowledge has she ever seen them purposefully turn off lights. Now, first of all, the fact that they're turning off the lights makes me think one of two things. One of two things. The first thought that I had is for them to turn off the lights, it could mean there's a fleet of ships. Now, we do know that we're at a very pinnacle time. We've entered into 2012. We're in a pinnacle time where many ships, galactic ships, are coming through. People are getting videos. Literally, we're getting videos, and I want to post some videos on YouTube to let you know how many sightings are happening in Oregon, especially on the West Coast. Oregon, San Diego, San Francisco, we're getting a lot of sightings. I personally think if they're taking down the lights, now remember, when a ship comes, ships run on magnetic energy. okay, depending on the ship. Now, if they're reverse engineer ships, they have a lot more electricity, and those are governmental ships. For them, whenever time a ship, one ship, if a mothership, she can't come close. A mothership does not come close to Earth. She can only come a couple hundred miles within our stratosphere before she causes all kinds of sounds. You hear those bowing sounds. You know, when people are saying, I'm hearing all these bowing sounds like big gongs. Remember, everybody was hearing these weird sounds? Those are ships ahead. You don't hear them ahead, you hear them from the ground, because that sound, the magnetic field actually bounces off the ground, and you hear the sound from bottom up. So when a ship is above, you won't hear the sound here, you'll hear it from the ground, because it's literally affecting the ground on the bottom, so you hear it from that up, okay? So my first thought when I heard PGE is, this is why I say, family, I want you to get footage, because all our Cali people, if they're turning off the lights, y'all should be outside with cameras. I want you to make sure you get those dark screen cameras. Why do I have this on my mouth? It's like a little, these lip glosses are awful. I can just use castor oil. I need to stop using these generic these lip glosses. They say they're organic, they're not. I use castor oil on my lips and never have a problem. If you get your cameras out, because I think there's a lot of ships coming ahead. And a lot of times if you're getting that many ships, they don't want you to realize it by having your electricity glitch out. Because if any of you know, these are for those from the UFO, I'm gonna share a little from those who are not from the UFO and ET community. When back in the days when ships would come and people were taken or abducted or in contact, the first thing that would happen is your battery in your car would die. I think I've talked to you about myself and Karen when we were coming back from a party, a birthday party that I had, and we were driving to go see Kirk, and we lost time, our phones died, hers exploded, my battery totally died off of a brand new phone, and I have a big truck, many of you saw it at the conference. My truck battery basically was zapped, and the battery was done. And this is a brand new well, it wasn't a brand new battery. It was like a battery that was like 2 years old, but it's a truck that has a, amazing battery. Okay, so when ships come, they mess with the electronics. So rather than them telling you that we're having a whole flight of ships, we're having guests, we invited a whole bunch of these dark guests coming in. We don't know what beings are coming in. I can't tell you that much because I'm not getting those resources. And at this point, they won't give information to many people because they don't want the men in black coming and trying to get information out of us. So we don't get intel like that, especially at a very pinnacle time. But if there's ships ahead, they're going to turn off the lights because they don't want it messing with the magnetic field and shutting down electronics. And also they don't want it zapping their what are those called? What are those tall tower things? Whatever those are called. They don't want it zapping the towers, okay? Because if they leave it on, it's gonna suck it dry. So rather than that, they're gonna mute it. They're gonna mute it all. This is my first thought. That's my first thought, that there's ships coming, they're aware that they're coming, and it's a large fleet. Because for them to turn it off for that amount of days, remember, a vortex can stay open for 7 to 10 days. What is it, is it 7 to 10 days or I think it's 7 to 10 days. I think so. Okay, I gotta go to where I had that written down. I think it's 7 to 10 days. So for that reason, that means that they're anticipating arrivals of others. Now, who the others are, we don't know. It depends on now when the government tells you they're shutting things down, I don't know if it's arrivals, because remember, we do have agreements that are played out. They do have to hand over power to the matriarchy. So as we speak, I remembered attending one meeting with the Andromedans and the Draconians, which is a really freaky meeting. It wasn't something I would have intended to attend. So there are agreements made. So it could be a positive fleet coming, but most likely I can't see that happening because I don't see them letting power go that easily because, a lot of these beings have been in control for so long. It's very difficult for them to let it go. So most likely it's malevolent, a negative. Okay, so for that reason, all I would say to everyone is go outside with your cameras. I expect you get the best footage. You'll be safe. They're not going to allow everybody to go and do crazy. They're not going to allow beings. Remember, someone said, "Oh, are they going to hurt us?" Maleficent. Thank you. Let me explain something. These beings have been interacting with us, and many of you are mixed with them. I already sent pictures. We have people who are shapeshifters. Many of you don't even know the genomes you have. Some of you have bloodlines of old reptilians that you are even acknowledging of. Some of you are showing signs on your skin, on your eyes,
the way you sleep, the way that you're showing up. You're showing up as you are. It isn't a judgment, but many of you don't even know who you are. Okay, so that being said, so for those people like, oh, she's saying extraterrestrials are coming here. They've been here, family. You are them. You are them. Someone asked, you know, I went on a platform, they were like, do you believe in extraterrestrials? I said, I don't believe in extraterrestrials. I know there's extraterrestrials and interterrestrials and interdimensional. There isn't any wavering that. I know it, I've seen them, I've interacted with them, and many of them are you. For the fact that you come to my platform already gives you an understanding that you already have something inside of you that knows this is a truth. It's just what it is. It's not a belief, it's a knowing. You can't have this many different types of people on one planet, and that is not some sort of genetic experimentation. Planets have the same type of homogeneous type of people. You go to planets, generally the whole population looks the same. On this planet was a whole bunch of brown, copper women that were tall who were able to give birth through the process of parthenogenesis. How come you don't see a whole bunch of brown women on this entire planet in total? Because there has been genetic homogenizing. All the different variations of humans on this planet is not normal for one planet. We are earthlings, but we are many different types now because we've been incepted. It is what it is, okay? So now that we've been sliced and diced, we have a whole lot of different genomes running up in us, and that's why some of you can't eat certain things. That's why some of you can't sit underneath the sun. So that's why some of you can't breathe in air or drink water, because you aren't from this planet. You were seeded from other things and other types of beings that are not used to this type of environment. You have children that can't even sit outside in the sun because they're not from here. If you can't just walk outside bucket naked where you are right now and be comfortable, that means you're not from this planet, or it means you've been homogenized. Welcome to our world. So I don't even want to get into that anymore, because I'm over that fact. Hopefully anyone who's come to me collectively has already has an understanding that even if you don't believe me to the greatest degree, hopefully you have an understanding that we aren't the only ones on this planet. Hopefully you have that concept, basically you have that concept, okay? But I will say that I personally think that there's ships coming. Now, that was my first. What's my second? Hey, Melanated High Priestess. What's my second? My second is, if that is not the case, that there's ships coming, there is some sort of weaponry that they need all that electricity to be able to generate in one stream. So if it isn't above, it's below. Listen to me. If it isn't as above, then it's below, or it might be both. Usually if they need electricity for we don't know if they're opening up Stargates. These mofos have to leave this planet. They might be opening Stargates to get the heck out of Dodge. We just hit 2012. They might be jumping out of jump rooms, and they may need to source out all the electricity and source it into one huge conglomerate of electricity. And maybe they need all of it to source it in order to create a vortex of some sort. We don't know if they have a Hydra Collider somewhere underneath California or in the desert of Area 51. There's a reason why they did that thing in Area 51. We still know that whoever stimulated that because one thing that I do know, that Area 51 debacle, the number one thing I was concerned about, and that's why I said none of you go, none of our people went because they're smart, is by invasion. Do you remember someone sent that video of the group, and we still don't know why they did it? It was up in Buffalo, New York. We found out it was in Buffalo, New York, where people sitting down, standing up, like looking up, and they were all basically frozen. That could have been, Area 51 could have been getting a number of people so they can inject you with some sort of beings. That's how they do it. They basically could utilize your bodies and basically do a jump ship from whatever they are. A lot of people don't realize that by the nature of a lot of these beings, they're non-corporeal. What does non-corporeal mean? Non-corporeal means they do not have physical form. When they travel to this galaxy, many people think a lot of beings travel on ships. Absolutely not. The most higher in density travel in their own non-corporeal form and energetic forms. Sometimes you see them in the sky as orbs, okay? Those are non-corporeals. if they come into our stratosphere, they have to gain form or they dissipate. Where do you think they're going to get the bodies from, family? Keep drinking that Hennessy, keep drinking those Jack Daniels, because everybody at Area 51 was drunk or high on mushrooms or drugs or psychedelics. They were straight up portals for something to attach to them. So for anyone who went to Area 51, who was drinking, doing drugs, getting high, they probably set that up to get people to be hosts for beings that they had over there. You got to be careful following the own okie doke. Area 51 hasn't had anything special for years. But I do know that there's an influx in their magnetic field, so that means there's ships over there or portals. And if you're going over there drinking and being basically an open vessel, what do you think is going to attach to you? You have things attaching to you even when you're not at places like that. Could you imagine going over there and you basically are being an open receptor to things? I wouldn't even come in contact with you if I knew you went to Area 51, because I would think you've been incepted. I'm just saying, it isn't scary, it's keeping it real. We have to be a little more, we have to utilize our discernment. Not everything is gold, not everything that's golden is gold. We have to be mindful. So I personally think that them shutting down the lights, either there's ships above or they're sourcing the energy to get the heck out of Dodge, and they're putting into like a hydro collider, or they're doing something diabolical. So they're using that energy for something. They need to take that much amount of energy and propel it somewhere. So it's either as there with ships coming, they know ships are coming, fleets of ships, or they're using it for something else. But needless to say, all my Cali people, you already know. My West Coast people, y'all are prepared, because I already know if you are already there, you're meant to be undergo this type of intel. You're meant to be there. So take your handy dandy cameras out. Get your cameras. I expect some footage for y'all. I expect you to sit outside. Hope you guys got the fire pits ready. I love it. This is a time to get collectively with your neighbors. Get the high, if you could afford it, get one person or source it all together. One of you get the high night cameras so you can catch some orbs. I guarantee if you don't see something above, you're going to feel something beneath your feet. And I want some of you to put some of these, some of our nerdy, geeky group. I know that you guys have it. You guys have seismic equipment. So I'm asking for all our geeks in the West Coast, get your seismic equipment out, and hopefully I get some feed from you to see if they're doing anything underneath the ground. You'll find out, because we're aware. Others won't know. They'll be watching Super Bowls. They'll be watching Super Bowls. They will be unaware. They'll be in their house popping pills, popping opioids, what do you call opioids? Popping opioids, watching footballs, watching men running around in spandex. That's what they'll be doing. Or going to work to matrix job, being radiated all over the place, and they won't even be aware because they'll be in a fog. Okay? I'm just saying, keep it, you guys already know what time it is. This is like me speaking to the choir. For anyone coming in the room, please put a like on the video. Fire in the yard. Please put a like on the video if you come in the room, just as a common courtesy. Like I said, YouTube has they've left me pretty much be since I've gotten likes on my video. Before we didn't really pay attention, because I don't really pay attention to likes when I come on people's video. To be honest, like I forget, because I'm so excited to get on. But anyway, your Super Bowls will be on. People will be eating diabolical food. Listen, I haven't drank coffee for 7 days. I kind of miss it. Like he's like my dark, he's like my dark I Jones for my coffee. He's like my dark lover. I talk about coffee like I talk about sex. I have appreciation for my coffee, but I understand. As soon as I saw my daddy and my uncle, as soon as I saw them come to me, I got off the coffee. Yeah, the chicory is nice, right? Talise knows. Yeah, I do the chicory I do the Cali. Anyone who knows, I do the the Carif. I love the Carif, and I do it with the pea pod, it's a pea pod creamer. I do that, and I do it with the I don't like the monk. I have this monk sugar substitute. It's like a monk kind of thing. I don't really like it. So I do the pure maple sugar. Oh, it's so good. That's what I'm doing, family. And then I've just been drinking water because remember, Herbamate. Yeah, I'm just getting ready for the conference, and I take the conference very seriously. If you come in my realm, you will listen. This is why the conference has its own filters.
If you're able to come to the conference to be around FleurBrun, you've made it through all the filters. There's fear filters. There's all kinds of filters to get to me. So if you're able to make it to the conference, it means that you are okay. Because we got all kinds of filters, galactic filters made for people who will be able to be in my neck of the woods. So I'm grateful. Yeah, the monk fruit sweetener. I don't really like it, Spirit. Do you like it? The monk's filter, monk sweetener. It doesn't taste like, it just tastes a little bitter. So I'm doing that. No Popeye's chicken. I had to tell my mother, listen, family, don't tell her I told you. My mother, because she wasn't feeling well, right? So my mother came out and she wanted to go to my mom, like, she wanted chicken. My mother's like the best cooker in the world. She's a Creole cooker, but she's older now. She doesn't cook. Either I have to make stuff for her or we have somebody who makes things for her, right? So she wanted Popeyes. Listen, so, I can't be paranoid too. Like, I said like this. I said, oh, snap. My mother wants Popeyes. So I was like this. I said, Mommy, forgive me for this. I was like, Mommy, they've had some outbreak of something. And it's true. Nanotechnology. I had to say it like that so she understood. Because if I said if I said that, she would have been like, oh, you're going over the top. So I had to say, Mommy, they had an outbreak of something. Right? Your mom too? The old schoolers like Popeye because I guess they like that. So I said, they had an outbreak, Mommy. So I can't take you there. She believed me. She just gave me this look like, she looked at me because your mother knows you. My mother looked at me like this. Oh, thank you for the 444. Okay, so family, we're gonna go into that. I got so much intel. Okay, so and also talking about drugs. I'm gonna do a video on fungus and cancer. I did research on this. This man is off the hook. I've been on this. I ordered a book that's like $300. Listen, all the best medical books, you got to pay money. And I got a bootleg. Listen, I got a bootleg book that's like 1,000. I think it was like 1,000 something. I think it was 1,000 something. I got it for $300. I'm a hustler for books. If I can get the information, because I know post pole shift, all we're going to have is books. Your electronics won't have it. So I had to get it. So I'm going to share it because I'm not a hoarder of information. There isn't any time you see me hoard information. Once I gain information, this is one thing you will always know about FleurBrun. I'm about this life. I whistle blow. And this is how I came out. I will always share with you what I know. And if people aren't in the realm of the intel, they won't be able to listen to my videos. They'll be glitched out. So that's why I tell you, don't ever share my video with others because this is what you are in alignment with me. Even those who don't like to act like they're on here, I know you're here. Those who pretend like they don't listen to me, I know you listen to me. And it's all good in the hood because you're part of the collective too. Okay? Yeah, doctor said I got to get into all that. So I'll get into that maybe tomorrow. No, I have the show tomorrow. Oh, well, I have the show tomorrow with Dr. Don. So Dr. Don is my naturopath. I go to him for everything. He's amazing. He's at my local naturopathic store. So he's coming on Thursday. He was supposed to come on last Thursday, and he wasn't able to. So, no, I wasn't able to because something came up. Okay, so I blow spots, right? And I do it classy. I don't blow spots like I used to. I blow spots pretty decently. Back in the days, I just call you out. I'm a little more seasoned. I learned I don't have to be that diabolical to do it. I'll blow your spot though. If you're acting a certain way and you're acting out of sorts, and you guys blow my spot all the time. So booyah, as much as I can dish it, I could take it as well. So when my friends check me, they check me. Okay, my little ones check me sometimes too. They'll be like, Mommy, didn't you say that we weren't supposed to wear this for circulation? And I was like, okay, baby, they check me too. I get checked. So, I'm an old school New Yorker too. We tend to do it like that. So anyway, what was I talking about? We have what's going on now with the cow mutilations. Okay, so we talked about California. Cali people, get up on your thing. Get some Cali people also. Make sure that you are protecting your field. Because I did the acupuncture, right? Monkey ring. Do you remember I did that? Maybe that helped me out. I did the monkey. I said I did the monkey. I did remember I did the acupuncture last week with the fish pedicure. I think it opened up portals in me because I stopped drinking coffee too. Right then too. That was when I stopped. The day I went in for the acupuncture is when I stopped drinking coffee. Yeah. But don't worry. I'm going to be at the conference. We're going to get beignets and coffee. So big up to those who are joining. We're going to do beignets and coffee. I am going to have coffee at the conference. So, and it would be the French, the café au lait. Oh, I'm so excited. All right, so they're shutting down power, Callie, yes. So get your cameras out. For those, for protection, what I would do is for all of us who have the EMF, for all of you, one of you, if you're hanging with the crew, many of you, I know many of you are loners like me. So if you don't have the crew, I would suggest you get this before they turn off the light. Okay, and just test your EMF. So I would suggest you get this if you can. It's cheap. You can get it on Wish. I don't know if it'll come in time for the lights to go out, but I would just get this. See, to test your EMF and your radiation, just to see if anything's going on. So that way you can test the floor. I would test your ground. So if you're somewhere like in a building, I would go downstairs when the lights are off, as long as you're safe, and go and test the ground. So if you get a reading, send it to me. If you guys get readings, send it to me and I'll post it so we can see if there's any radiation coming from the ground, because that's when we know. If there's radiation coming and spiking from the ground, family, then we know they're doing something and they're taking that energy and putting it somewhere. But I want you guys to make sure you're protecting your energy. So make sure that you're protecting your feet, because feet, you know, whenever they do radiation, they always attach it to the bottom of their feet, the open palms where it's white. All of us have, you know, no color here, okay? So they attach it to the bottom of feet. Protect your feet, all right? And make sure that you're, you know, put Oregon energy, also put your protective field on you, you know what I'm saying? Just be mindful and take pictures, okay? So let's see. Oh, yours arrived, yours arrived, Shield Maiden, guys, hers yesterday. Perfect, test, give me testing to see what's going on, okay? Because we wanna know what they're doing. We wanna be proactive. We just wanna know what they're doing. You can only change what you acknowledge. You just want to see what what their game plan is. All right, so family, what else we talk about? There is, oh yes, maybe I should make another video. I don't know if I should talk about this. I'm going to wait until another video. There's something else I wanted to talk about with the fungus, but I'm not going to get into that now because it's a whole conversation, and I want to go to I'm going to go to Vitality Bowls to get my acai bowl, because I'm staying away from everything. So when I go to the conference, I'll be clean. So I'm doing my acai bowl, and I'm gonna do mango, pineapple, acai, keiko chips. Yes, I am, honey bunnies. So I don't know why I say everything that's on my mind. Sometimes I just say everything, right? Sometimes I just tell you everything. I am a Sag for that reason. Oh, and then I gotta share her video. I think she's the bomb astrologer. Do you listen to this woman called B? She's the one who talked about Saturn, and then she was talking about Pluto. Do you remember her? Listen, I like her. She's, you know what's so, she keeps it real. She's a little bit patriarchal. She's patriotic. What's the word? Patriotic. It's one of those. Okay. You know, the people who love the flag, and so she's a little bit like that. So I can't fully trust her, because she's, if you still think politics is real, I can't trust you. And for all those coming in the room, I know many of you like to say, quote unquote, good morning. We say grand rising or good day in here because there isn't any morning. Try to keep yourselves from saying the spells, okay? You want to make sure that you're watching the spells, everyone, okay? Because if you utilize language like morning, or, you say things like blessings, you got to be careful with that. Also it makes me see, the levels. So just make sure you say grand rising or good day or something like that. Unless you want to mourn. If you want to mourn, that's okay. Buenos dias is fine. Buenos dias, good day. Okay, grand rising. Just to make sure your language, because we want to keep in the higher field and the densities, higher densities. Just keep your language, and make sure that you guys are not reading people's diabolical. Let me explain something, family. Be careful to read things from a non-I perspective, because if someone's writing you a sad or a negative thing and they're saying I, do know that you're spelling yourself. You're putting a spell on yourself, and you're taking on whatever negativity they wrote you. So I just want to say that, because I think a lot of people are contacting me, and I was just giving you the warning. Make sure people are writing you letters. Some of you are healers. Some of you are, a lot of people write me and they'll say, sad things going on, and they write I, but what happens is that as you're reading it, you're basically spelling it on you. Okay? So just be mindful. So if you read a letter, make sure you replace the I's with he or she or that name, okay? Just make sure. Because they do these things. Listen, the English language is the most bastardized language there is. It is. I speak French. French was my first language. Miss Latin languages, they're all bastardized. But English, they made this language into a diabolical spellbinder. And if you keep talking, you will spell yourself into some nonsense that you hadn't even anticipated. Okay? Because there isn't any bonjour, salut, como ça va, ça passe, you know, buenos dias, buenos noches, bon dia, bon dia, bontage, you know, say your different, you bring up other languages, okay? And be careful with those too. We're gonna have to telepathically communicate with one another, because actually to ETs and extraterrestrials, this is the most archaic way to interact, is in your mouth. They think we're like cave people because we talk with our mouth. It's unnatural. Okay? So just be mindful with your languages. I just want to put that warning out there. I just want to give you that so you understand and overstand what's going on. Okay? South Africa, what's good, Bridget? We need some intel from Africa too, because South Africa, we're going to get into that. And then let me show you something that disturbed me today. So, no, not today. I bought this a while ago, but I did it purposefully. So let me show you this. This is a dinner mat that, you know, I brought for my little ones. Okay, so can you guys see it? Hold on. Can you see it? Okay. This is cute. You know how they have the little ones that you eat? You know, my girls are a little bigger now. There's, you know, they have the map, you know, when you sit and eat, when you sit down and you eat your placemat, this is a placemat that I saw at Michael's, okay? Okay? Why it bothered me is because you see all the countries, and look at Africa. Look how small Africa is. Russia is as big as Africa on this map. Look at it. This is the kind of diabolical misinformation that they give you. This is the whole continent of Africa. The whole continent of Africa is bigger than North and South America, and certainly better than this area here. This is disgusting. And you're serving this to our children, you lying bastards. You're liars. This is disgusting. I saw this. I had to buy it. I had to buy it because I had to show you how they're trying to change how this is why I say, family, you got to be careful of how you're perceiving things. They've been trying to change people's perception to lessen a people's look and to lessen the credibility of a certain type of phenotype on this planet. And how they do it is by changing the map and making a continent, which is every country goes to Africa to rape it. So you're going to tell me that Africa is the smallest? You have countries in Africa that take up more space than Brazil. Brazil is another big country. That's another country. And I also want to show you this for those who didn't realize where they came from and the lies and misnomers, okay? First of all, the majority of brown people did not come from Africa during the quote-unquote slave trade. I'm going to show you how I know this, and I have facts and archives, and I'll probably get in trouble for even showing them. I'm not going to show them now, but our young people are already getting that changed in Congress. There wasn't an African slave trade. There was a South American slave trade. Most of the brown people came from South America. They came from Brazil, okay? So this is Brazil, everyone. This is Brazil. This is Africa right here. This is Africa, okay? Brazil is here. This was a whole bunch of brown people already here. You know why they were already here? Because Africa's right here. They were already here. Africa's right here. It's not far. It's a ship right away. But there wasn't a ship. They didn't have to get a ship because the brown people were already concentrated here. So all they did with these brown people that were here, they just took them and redistributed them in all these parts of America where there were already brown people. And they thought they were in different countries because they had never been to some of the northern parts of the Americas. This is the kind of lies that tell. Most brown people are from the Americas. Even Africans will tell you that they think most quote-unquote African Americans aren't from Africa. Phenotype-wise, they don't even match. Different phenotypes, different genetics. Okay? It's disgusting. The lies, this is why I'm saying you can't believe anything they say. So the majority of people, when I went to, big up to my beautiful time in Brazil, I will be back, so my Brazilian family, so we'll meet up. But it was interesting because the majority of people look just like us, regular people from here, all the brown people. And what's interesting is that the amount of lies and misnomer has been perpetuated for so long that even the people there don't even realize that they were indigenously from there. Go figure. So teach your children, family, the truth. Please, even if they go to school, it's okay if you send them to school, just as long as you're teaching them at home the truth. And there's lots of artifacts and actually that support that they were actually from South America, okay? And South America is so close to Africa. That's why I say they weren't from Africa, but they're so close because the people were migrating back and forth. There was no separation. Remember, it used to be one continent when it was Pangea. These people are, it's madness. The lies that are told, it's incredulous. It's incredulous how they get away with that. Teach your children the truth about everything. The hatred is just a projection that's projected out there to create a way to disallow people from really knowing who they are genetically, because really in itself, if you don't know where you come from, it disallows from you to kind of field in. I told you when I went to Brazil, I met up with my grandmothers that were in Brazil that were locked in the etheric prison. And it took me genetically, listen, that's why I say it's very important for you to travel, everyone, my European sect, my Asiatic sect, my Latino, everyone should travel. Because when I went back to my homeland, which is at the tip of Brazil, I freed my family, but my genetic had to go back there. My genetics had to be on site. I had to be on site to free my family. So if I didn't know where I was from, I couldn't go to my homeland and free anybody. So they would be locked in the etheric prison from now. A lot of the reason why you're getting a lot of intel from me more so now than you even did before is because I have my ancestors speaking through me now. The amount of stuff that they show me is amazing. They were the ones who taught me about energetic acupuncture, my grandmothers. But I wouldn't have known that had I not stepped on my genetic land. As soon as I went on the landscape, I recognized the terrain because my genetics recognize home. Even when my girlfriend, she said like she went to part of Europe, she was like, she felt like she was home. She had never been to Scotland before. She had this dream to go to Scotland, to the northern part of Scotland. I remember as his children, she was like, I just keep dreaming about this place in Scotland. She knew it was Scotland. And finally she traveled there. She said she couldn't believe how she felt. And she didn't go until after I went to Brazil, because she was like, once I went to Brazil, she's like, I gotta go. She went there, she recognized places, she could tell people where to go through a certain roadway that wasn't traveled for many years. This is because her genetics remembered where she was. And it's healing for you to return. Remember, we're going back to 0 point, the point of origin. You have to know where your origin is. That's why they trick you. That's why they tell you you're from Africa and you're really from South America. That's why they tell you you're from India and you could be somewhere from Afghanistan. They're tricking you. Be mindful and listen to your first mind. Your genomes don't lie. Your genomes don't lie. Who you are is beautiful. And that's why I say to you, I can appreciate every spice of person on this planet because I think everyone is amazing. I think everyone is amazing, unique. If I'm on a Starfleet enterprise with everyone who looked differently, who spoke different languages, I would feel as comfortable with them as I do with people who look seemingly like myself. Because I get that I love myself. I appreciate myself, and in the comfort of me knowing myself in my own skin, I can really respect, love, and actually appreciate others who look differently, who speak different tongues, who have different value systems, who have different religions. I can appreciate it. Actually, I'm amazed by it. I'm amazed by it sometimes. Like when I meet someone of a different culture that I have never met before, I get so excited. Like, wow, okay, I'm excited because I think it's amazing. Listen, so, okay, so I diverged. Please put a like on a video if you come in a room. Anyway, so we have perhaps a Starfleet coming in the sky in California. Californians, I'm assuming that you will catch the feed. For those who are interested in seismic activity, please put your thermometers and things in the ground. We want to get some intel. So California, that's happening now. Kiki gave me intel on Oregon. Oregon has had a series of cow mutilations, okay? So for many of you who are from the ET, extraterrestrial, interdimensional,
inner Earth UFO community, you realize that we haven't had cow mutilations for over, let's see, I don't think we've had anything significant as far as that's concerned for the last 30 years, okay? Why is this important? Because when we see cow mutilations, we also know that the grays are close by, or zetas, okay? Cow mutilations are, these cows did not have any cuts. They didn't have any gunshots. They didn't have anything. It was almost like they were opened and all organs were removed, okay? So when we see cow mutilations, I know that grays are at hand. Now, the fact of the matter is a little concerning, Oregon. So my Oregon family, please make sure you're looking. Make sure you're looking into this for me. If you guys have any intel, please let me know. The fact that this hasn't happened, that I notably remember for over 30 years or longer, makes me think that something's about to pop off in West Coast. Because they only do that when they're testing for specific types of radiation. The grays, I'm talking about the grays. The grays are doing testing of the organs to test it for radiation, test it for chemicalization. That's what they do. Grays are like scientists. They're like field scientists. Or they work for other groups. Grays work for other ET groups, okay? So the fact that we're having mutilations in Oregon right now concerns me. Makes me think that they're testing for something. So there must be some seismic activity, because we do have Yellowstone is about to pop, okay? So Yellowstone at this point is sizzling and it's buzzing. People are hearing sounds, high-pitched sounds, anytime they go around parts of Yellowstone. If this is the case, then I need our West Coast people to be on site and really proactive in making sure you study the areas. Our family in Oregon, I expect that hopefully I'll get some intel on you. Is there any weird seismic activity happening? Do you hear anything with trees dying in mass quantity? Because it'll let me know if there's some sort of fungus among us, which I'm gonna make a video tomorrow if I get a chance. If that's going on, or spores that have been let out, because spores are coming in mass droves. This is the conversation I'm gonna have with you tomorrow. So make sure you're giving me that intel so we can source it, because something is going on in Oregon. When the grays are taking and mutilating cows, and we're having that, which we didn't have for over 30 years, that concerns me. It means that they're testing for something that's already been placed out there. It could be spores or it could be radiation. It's gotta be one of the two, or one of those type of something like that. Okay, so please let me know if anyone has any more intel on the mutilation of the cows in Oregon. Also, our Cali family, I need to know if our Northern California people are feeling something, any earthquakes. I heard you guys had a little bit of a shake this morning. Was it this morning you guys had a shake? Did anyone have a shake this morning? Our Cali family? Yes? Okay, melanated hypersis. Okay, so you guys had a little bit of a shake. When is the projection of the lights going off? Can someone give me when is the exact date? Is it tomorrow or is it this week? When are the lights going off? What date? Oh, it shook a couple of days ago in the Bay. Okay. Midnight tonight? Is it going off midnight tonight? Okay. Now? Is it happening now? Okay, today. Okay. All right, so family, you know to be proactive. You know these diabolical ones always have a scheme up their sleeve. You're safe, but you want to always monitor what they're doing. It just gives you a better perspective, okay? Be nosy. It's okay to be nosy at this point. Find out what's going on. Make sure if you're feeling any shakes, document the time you're feeling the shakes. Remember, we're also hitting the Galactic Center at the end of the month, which is around the 31st, which does cause for interferences in electronics. They may be trying to test this, and I don't know if they're trying to see if they can do something prior to this time, okay? So make sure that you are taking note. If you feel anything, any shakes or anything, just document the time you're doing it. You don't know how relative it'll be when we get the collection of data, okay? Because you know I'm a researcher. I love the collection of data. It gives me a better perspective, okay? I want to know if any of our family from O bloodline, so if you're O positive or O negative, are you feeling nauseous? Are any of our family who are O's feeling nauseous?
Or any of our O's on here. Don't tell me your blood type. You don't have to say it on here. Any of our O's feeling negative? Are they feeling nauseous, or are you feeling dizzy? Anybody feeling nauseous and dizzy? No. Okay, good. No, good. Okay. Any of our A's feeling dizzy or nauseous? Okay, yes. A couple. Okay, we have a couple yeses. Okay. Yes. A's? Tired? O's, no. Okay. A's? Yes? Okay. Okay, yes. Okay. Why did I ask for those two? A's are hypersensitive. Hypersensitive. Okay? Because you're the first. You're the first. That's what makes you very special. You were the first. Okay? So A's, whenever something changes in our stratosphere, especially when it comes to nature, you guys will feel it. Now, if it's heightened and if it's really bad, the O's will feel it. So I'm gauging. So that's what I'm doing. The B's, the AB's, you're in between. You guys will be fine. You'll get some of these. The B's might feel a little, if the A's are feeling a little bad, the B's might feel a little, you might get a little tendinitis. Bees usually get tendinitis when there's a shift in the, especially earthquake weather. The bees get tendinitis. That's why they utilize bees for certain experimentation, okay? The bees might get a little tendinitis. But the A's, I have to watch you. And the O's. If the O's start to feel it, that means it's bad, okay? If the A's are feeling it, it means it's starting. So if the A's are already, it looks like a whole bunch of A's are feeling it. The B's are getting some joint pains. Okay, so the A's are feeling it already. When it gets to a heightened state of being, the O's will start to feel it. Okay? O's are, depending on where you're sitting in the spectrum, the A's are the beginning, the O's are the last, okay? Or the O's are the beginning, the A's are the last, depending on your perspective, okay? So make sure you're protecting your feet. You're gonna feel, okay, O negative's feeling. Negative roosts, okay, so negative roosts, are you guys feeling, any of my negative roosts, all of them, the A, B's, and so on, are you negative roosts are feeling nauseous or tired, or negative roosts? Negative roosts, yes. Yes, okay. Our negative roosters are feeling it. Yes, okay. Joint pain, okay, dizziness. Okay, our negative roosters are experiencing this. Yes, okay. Ooh, this is interesting. So our negative roosters are feeling this. This might be what I thought it was. This might be what I thought it was. If negative roosters, remember, what am I doing in my head? I want to give you a consensus. If the negative roosters are feeling this, remember, negative roost is off-world blood. They aren't natural to our world, okay? So if they're feeling headaches and so on, and they're feeling a little dizzy, it makes me think that we are having ships coming. That might make them feel that way, ships. Because you guys are affected when ships come into the stratosphere, more so than the others. Because however you traveled here to get here, O negatives, negative roosters, not all of you are galactic based, but you are off-world, meaning you are either created, homogenized, or you are from other worlds. Negative roosters are beautiful negative roosters, so either you are homogenized, heightened with the off-world people, or you were basically seeded from the off-world people. So whenever ships are coming, you guys generally get really, really sick. Whenever you get really, really sick. So negative roosters, I want you to document how you're not feeling. Your daughter's a negative roost, make sure you document how long they're not feeling well. For the amount of days that the lights are going off, I want you to document negative roosters, how long. Positive roosters, you should be okay. The only thing with positive roosters, your feet will hurt, okay? Because the earth will change. Positive roosters generally will feel it from bottom up. Negative roosters will feel it from top down. Okay, as above, so below. So positive roosters, you'll feel it from your feet up. You're gonna get knee issues, feet issues, and our negative roosters most likely will feel it from here. Now, if you have a mixture of the two, a lot of you will feel it both ways. Okay? So be mindful. For our A's, make sure you're being careful. Make sure you're drinking a lot of A's. I want to make sure you're chlorophylled up. Make sure for our A's, positives and negatives, make sure that you're drinking a lot of water. Make sure you're alkalines. A's have to stay heightened in alkalinity, okay? Make sure you guys are alkalines. Make sure you're getting a little bit of that chlorophyll in you, okay? It'll make you feel better for our A's because you guys are hypersensitive to environmental changes. B's, you will be fine. Just make sure that you aren't drinking a lot heavily. You're not smoking and chiefing a lot. B's, because they like to field in your brain here. You might feel like you're having weird dreams, B's. Any bees that have been taken over by governmental agencies, you might have memories that you don't even have, that you don't recollect. So bees, okay? So be mindful, bees, okay? Because bees, they like to utilize you for governmental experimentation, because you have your brain works a lot. You compartmentalize beautifully. The way that you field your brain, you bees, you beautiful bees, bees. It's an amazing quality, but it makes you very unique, but it makes you very inceptible. I stay clear, especially when they're trying to come at me. I do stay clear of bees as much as possible because they know to utilize a bee to get to me. So bees, because they love you, they love the way your brain works. They just do. And they utilize it to take over. They hijack your brains and you guys won't even know it. But it makes you a master at being able to get over pain quickly. Like a bee can have something negative happen to them and they compartmentalize it and they can forget about it and just move on. Bees have that beautiful quality. Bees are more susceptible to also addiction also. So be careful, bees. For the same quality that makes you strong and powerful and makes you amazingly unique is the same quality that makes you susceptible to other forms of infiltration. Okay? So, you know, bees tend to have addiction problems. So be careful, bees, at this time. If you're feeling the need to, I would just say at this particular time, especially until we get out of this galactic center, try to stay away from the yak. Try not to drink as much, okay? Try to stay off of, try to keep from drinking alcohol. Try to keep from utilizing any sort of opiates or drugs, because they're going to utilize your mind at this time. And a lot of times you guys won't know it. A lot of the super soldiers are bees, okay? It's beautiful. Other people say, oh, it is a negative. It's whenever they want to utilize you for something, it's a positive thing. Okay, so you guys are the bomb.com. Your way your brain works, okay? Negative roosts, just be careful. Hydrate yourself. I want our negative roosts to keep hydrated. With negative roosts, just there's nothing I can do, because if we're having a lot of ships in the sky, you're just going to be affected. I don't even know if you could do anything for that. I don't want to lie to you and say do something and it doesn't work, because I think by the nature of ships coming, it messes with you more so because you are connected to the galactic realms. Even if those who are homogenized are clones, because negative roots can also be clones, homogenized people, you still are affected because you're cloned from the galactics. So, you know what I mean? So just kind of keep your head together. If you don't feel right, call off of work. Don't tell people I told you to call off the work. Just, kind of keep it low key. But for your A's, you need to keep alkalines, you A's. Okay? A's, you have to be very alkalines and make sure you're hydrated, because you guys get affected in a lot of ways that others don't. And OGs, the O positives, just keep your feet right. The positive roosters, just make sure you keep your feet right, because we feel everything underneath the ground and it tends to mess with our feet. All right? So drink and just, for those who are chiefing, just be mindful, chiefing. I know a lot of you like to chief and what have you, but drugs and alcohol right now, when you have a lot of these beings here and you have non-corporeals coming on inside of our stratosphere, you don't want to be susceptible to mind control, because we have somebody who's been just taken over. There are beings hopping in bodies. And if your body is permissible and you've broken down all your shields, it makes you susceptible for possession. And it's not the kind of demon possession. These beings are coming from other worlds. You may have family members, watch, Body Snatchers. You may have family members that used to be cool with you and they act like biobots now. It's because they've been taken over. If Uncle Jay has been drinking for 30 years and all of a sudden he just stops and he starts acting like he wants to do different things, then Uncle Jay has been taken. You better keep an eye on Uncle Jay with the children too. So I'm just saying, be mindful. Don't be too paranoid. You don't have to be paranoid. You just have to be proactive. All right? Chiefing is smoking marijuana. That's an old school way. That's not even an old school way. That's a New York way. We say chiefing. And it's a way to not allow people to know what I'm talking about. Okay? Chiefing is smoking marijuana. Okay? So if you're still chiefing, just be mindful. Okay? You don't want to be a host for something, because it makes you feel like you're going crazy. And, if any of you have ever had beings attached to you or try to, it makes you feel like you want to die. You know that, right? So for many of our people who know that's why I'm not a fan of mass meditation. I'm not a fan of sitting in a room with strangers meditating. You will always hear me say that. You won't ever hear me or see me sitting in a room collectively with people meditating. I had to tell one of our sisters to make sure she protected herself doing so. That is the greatest way that they infiltrate and they can hop into your bodies. Meditation in a group setting with strangers that you don't know. You don't know everyone in that room. You don't know their spiritual levels. You don't know what's attached to them. You're sitting in a room opening portals inside of yourself, making yourself susceptible for infiltration, and there's strangers in the room. Now, if you want to meditate somewhere else, separately, collectively, separately, that's room with strangers, allowing yourself to open up your portals. And listen, I wouldn't say, it's like this. If you're a stranger and I don't know you, I'm not going to share my cup with you, right? So would I share my glass that I'm drinking from with a stranger off of the street? It's that same kind of sanitary common sense. You wouldn't share your spiritual space, your physical space with someone that you don't know. Why would you share your spiritual space that intimately with people you don't know? Okay? A lot of these programs were created for infiltration, and people are getting body snatched. I told you, my ex, he wasn't normal ever, but he was infiltrated really quickly because, he liked to live in the world. All these addictions and all these things are helping people to become a healthy portal for attachment. I don't like not drinking coffee, but I knew coffee's not even to the worst degree, but I knew at the time when I'm seeing my father who's passed and my uncle who's passed, and they're sitting in front of me, and my dad's braiding my hair, I knew that I didn't need anything in my system to exasperate, because the veil is gone, family. This is the time where they can attach to your auric field. Okay? So this is the time. So why give them, listen, clean your body. The pole shift is coming. If you need dental health, you need to go take care of your teeth. Okay? If you need anything that you've been neglecting right now, as far as feet, health, wellness, you need to attend to it now. This isn't the time to be lax on your physical form being susceptible to anything, even ailments and illnesses, because diseases are entities tapping into you. Mental illness is also a sign that you have entities attached to you. People who are suffering from a great amount of mental illness have multiple deities or entities attached to them. Okay? Mental illness to me is synonymous with possession. So a lot of times, whenever I meet people who have issues mentally, they usually are adverse to me because I see the entities attached to them. You can hear it, you can smell it. All right? Just be mindful. It's not to, you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. You don't have to be malicious when you talk to people, or you choose to keep your energy healthy. Demons smell like sulfur. When people's breath smell like sulfur, or their skin. If you smell some, why do you think they make all these perfumes and colognes for people? They know you. Listen, I want to smell my mate's pheromones. Big up to my twin flame. I want to smell his pheromones. I love the way that man smells naturally. I love when he goes and he works out and he comes in and he has nothing on. To me, that is like his cologne. It makes me want to ravish him. I'm being honest. Okay? That's pheromones 101. When someone's putting cologne on with all kinds of extraterrestrial, they're putting reptilian, they're making you susceptible to being attractive to other types of beings. So then you're putting the pheromones of other types of species on you. Okay? You got to be careful with that. You're putting other species. If someone smells rank to you, and I'm not talking about just, funky rank. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about they smell rank and you have a nauseous feeling with someone naturally, that is a sign you need to stay away from them. Okay? It's just what it is. Pheromones is very important, and the fact that they're creating an industry of perfumes with other people's pheromones. Remember when they had that guy who was selling stuff online? One of the sea stars came to me. We don't talk anymore because it was a whole bunch of nonsense with that. But she came on my show saying this guy was selling oils online, and he was putting his semen in there. Remember that? The guy was putting his semen inside of the oils he was selling to you guys as essential oils. Listen, I know that you want to buy things from people and you want to support people's businesses. But I will tell you this. You've got to be very careful. The occult is real. This man was putting semen. He's one of many. Okay? People, even women, put things. That's why, you got to be careful who you buy things from. I won't buy
perfumes, oils, or anything from people outside, because I know that there's a chance that that's how it can be incepted. Not saying that it can't be incepted at Whole Foods, but at least there's standards and regulations, and they have to go through warehouses and stuff like that. Okay? Just be mindful. You know, when you're buying organites from people who aren't very organite type of people. If someone is diabolical in their behavior or they're insidious in their behavior, you wouldn't want to buy a crystal from them, and you certainly wouldn't want to buy an organite for them. Some of you like to get things from some of these occult witches that are ciphers, that are ciphering your energy. You buy it from them thinking they're wonderful and awesome, but they're diabolical. If in their lives are chaotic, that's why I like to know you personally. You know, people will say, why do you do, you know why I do the conference? No, I wanted to do the conference to prove a point. Let's keep that real. I did the conference to let them know that I don't need to be invited to a conference. I'll create my own. That's number one. But why I really do it is because I like to meet people one-on-one. I don't like people hiding behind a screen. I want to see you. You can see me hiding behind the screen all day. I could have this all set up, right? I could have this all set up. This is all a lie. This is a lie. You don't know. You don't know. Actually, my house is diabolical right now because I have all the boxes from the conference. It's actually a mess. It's not a mess. I just have boxes everywhere. You don't know who I am, but when you meet me in person, you know who I am. You darn Skippy. Well, I like to meet people in person. I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York. Big ups in Mount Vernon, New York. Everybody I knew was from Mount Vernon. My mother was a teacher. She was on the board. My father was a neighbor and worked down on Wall Street. Everybody knew my family. I like knowing you. I like meeting you in person because I want to know who you are. It's just that maybe that's the way I am, because I like to vet people out. I don't like to see people just on the screen. When I met Barry. It was amazing. You know, I wanted to meet Sonia Barrett, so I got her from my conference last year. Oh, Sonia Barrett, I so wanted to meet her. That was like, if anybody knows, that was like my dream. I don't think you guys know, it was my dream. She was like, Sonia Barrett to me was like, it was like one of those people that you want to meet and you don't, and I don't talk about it, but it was important. So I made sure I booked her first. Like I made sure I got her plane ticket. I wanted her there, and it was amazing because when I met her, I was like, oh my gosh. And I told her, and I didn't want to seem all creepy, like, you know, like a stalker, like, oh my God, I love you. So, but I really felt that way about her. You know what I mean? I really felt that way about her. So I like to meet you in person. I'm old school like that. I like to vet you out. I don't like meeting people behind the screens because people can lie to you. I want to see you in person because I want to feel the energy. And if someone can't meet me in person, it also means it denotes that they aren't in my energy. So like I said, I have shields on me. I have what you consider to be shields, futuristic shields that protect me from anyone who isn't in my vibration. So that's why you won't see me ever afraid of anything, because I've already set up booby traps spiritually so that if someone is based in fear, like if someone's fear motivated, they aren't in my frequency, because anyone who's higher spiritually wouldn't be fearful. Anyone who's fearful isn't spiritually astute. Because if you're spiritual, there isn't any fear. You know that you are everlasting, and also you know that you're always safe. So anyone who perpetuates fear, like some of the sea stars last year were like, oh, it's gonna be men coming to the conference, they're gonna come, the government's gonna come. She was based in fear. She wasn't matching because she wasn't there. It's not that she isn't lesser, but it just means she's not in the same frequency, because the higher in frequency you are, the higher in densities you enter into, the least amount of fear you have. If you're up there, there isn't anything to fear, because you already know that there isn't anything that can mess with you outside of yourself unless you give it an invitation to mess with you. Okay? So always stay in the higher fields of thoughts, okay? Anything that comes at you, there isn't anything that you should fear, okay? And a lot of these non-corporeals and these beings outside of yourself, they can only incept you when you make yourself susceptible. So if you are drinking every day, if you're chiefing every day, if you're drinking coffee every day, if you're smoking cigarettes every day, if you're having diabolical sex with numerous women and being diabolical or numerous men, and you have all kinds of inceptive type of succubus, incubus on you, then you've already chosen to engage with outsiders because you've lowered your field. You didn't cloak yourself. You basically said, no, screw this. I want to engage in physical things to my own depreciation. And then if you're engaging in physical things to your own depreciation, then you leave your auric field susceptible for infiltration. And that means people, places, and things. So that's what I'm saying. If someone is heightened in spirituality and heightened in ever knowing, you will always be fearless because you know that you've done the work. You know that you're outside of the perimeters of that type of fear because you know that you're all good. You know that your auric field is powerful and strong and impenetrable. And I know my shields is impenetrable. And because I know that and I accept that, then I know there isn't anything that will come to me that is out of alignment with me. Always. So keep that in consideration. And if you ever are having bouts of fear, make sure you knock that sucker out. Make sure you rebuke it and you see where it's coming from. Where's the origin of the fear coming from? Is it coming from your insecurities about yourself? Maybe you feel a certain way. Maybe you've been hurt. Maybe something happens. Maybe you have a fear of maybe you have a fear of, I don't know, like going into large spaces with too many people in the mall. And it came from you being confined in the house all the time as a child and always, everything outside of your house was demonized by your parents. Okay, just go to the point of origin where that fear came from, and that's how you dissipate it. Okay, meet the child that couldn't go outside and tell her, it's beautiful out in the world. You're safe. I'll hold your hand. We'll be fine. We'll go to the mall together and you'll always be safe. Okay? So, and let your inner child know that they're always with guidance. You are never alone. You have a posse of guides, and that's the truth. You have a posse of and mostly ancestors. You have a posse of your ancestors and your guides that are always with you. So you're always walking with a gang. The number one gangbangers are guides. Energy gangbangers. That's your homies. They walk with you through everything. All you have to do is say, listen, I'm feeling a certain way. Did you see that young lady who was, she was in Sudan? I think everybody saw this one. She was in Sudan. What time is it? I want to go get my bowl. Okay, I'm not going to stay much longer because I want to get my bowl. Because, I'm not eating and, I'm not drinking coffee. So I want to eat at respectable times. Please put the like button if you're in the room. I appreciate it if you put the like. Remember the young lady, she was in Sudan and they were raping and killing women and she stood in the middle and lions surrounded her. Do you remember that? The lions surrounded her and waited until help came. Do you remember that little girl? It was amazing. I think I was so like in awe of that. Like I saw that lions surrounded this little girl in, I think it was Sudan. You guys can correct me. And it was the most majestic thing you could ever see. Here people are being killed. Why? Because it was her. It was her. She wasn't afraid of the lions. See what I'm saying? The ones that protected her were the lions. Normally, if she was in fear, she would sit in fear of the lions. She sat in comfort and in knowing that these are my homies. These are my homies. What? Come for me. What? And she was safe. That's beautiful. Oh, I stopped drinking coffee because my father and my uncle came and they passed. It made me a little nervous because the veil's down, and I make sure I have a lot of self-restraint. That I do. As much as I like to eat and drink coffee, I have self-restraint. So once I saw my father and my uncle come to me in this realm, and the veil is that thin, I didn't want to have anything in me that had some sort of addiction, altered my mindset. I'm going to have coffee at the conference. Beignets and coffee. Yes, I will have beignets and coffee. Hey, warrior. Yes, I'll have that. But a little seasoned nemesis. Could be. I didn't drink coffee until my 30s, to be honest. I didn't drink coffee before I had children. I didn't. I drank coffee as a habit because my husband used to drink it, and I drank it after I had babies. It's because I was nursing all the time. So because I didn't drink coffee with my first at all nursing. Second, I drank coffee after nursing. So I felt like I needed it to keep up because I was always, my hair was all over the place. Everybody said I looked magical after I had babies, but I didn't feel that way. I was sleepless in Seattle. You have that Sudanese blood? That's beautiful. I do the tea. Remember I showed you the tea that I drank? I think I showed you on Instagram. I'm doing the turmeric and the ginger tea. Oh, it's loose leaves. Oh, it's so good. Oh, wait. Sorry, Fleur. I can make the conference. Got second job. No worries, warrior. Don't worry. And all those who want to see the conference, it will be on my Patreon. So if you want to register to the Patreon, you could watch the conference and the masquerade because we have the masquerade. So, and also I'll let everybody walk around so you could talk to people.
on the live, because it'll be live on Patreon for the conference. So you get to see it on the conference. You'll see some of it, and you'll see the masquerade. So you get to interact with the people there. So I think that's always nice. Last year I didn't do it. I think many asked for me to do it. I'm gonna come to New York probably. You know what, Nikkei, because I was in New York last time. I'm gonna come to New York and rent a space in the Harlem Center just for like a day and have you guys do a meet and greet there. I think I'll do that before Thanksgiving. I think so. Because I have to go to New York to see my grandmother, who's 102. She's turning 103, so I got to go see her. So I'm going to go to New York. I got to go do a drive-by to my granny. So I might as well see you guys in New York. Okay? Oh, Cali, definitely. I love Cali. I'll definitely do a Cali drive-by. The doctors won't tell your blood type. I used to donate plasma and they refused. What? They're refusing? It's crazy. They're trying to hide your blood type. Don't worry. When I get to Brazil... my sanctuary, I will do blood type testing. I told them that. I shouldn't say that out loud. I will be testing for blood types. I will do it myself. See, this is one thing, and maybe this is a Sag in me because I'm a triple Sag. One thing with me is that I don't beg. See, if I'm not invited somewhere, I never get mad. Like the fact that the conferences, at first, like people would go to conferences and say, how come you don't invite FleurBrun to conferences? FleurBrun's like the #1 contactee online, especially a brown woman. There's no brown woman they invite. They don't invite me to conferences. So after I got that, like the 20,000th time, people saying, how come you don't go to conferences? I decided to make my own. It's the same with blood types. Why are we begging people to give us what is rightfully ours? If they won't do it, we do it ourselves. This is my thing. I'm done with begging people for notoriety and why should I? Why should I? We do it ourselves. We have to get out of this third-party codependency on others to validate ourselves. I don't need validation. I met with ETs and extraterrestrials. I broke the code of disillusion. I know what I know. There isn't any validation I need. I already got the validation for myself. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I do things because I want to. And I'm big into blood types. That's just what I do. That's anything, a lot of times years ago, people were like, oh, she's always bringing up blood types. Nobody was bringing up blood types. Why not? Maybe that's just because I came from that. See, I came from research. So maybe the reason why I talk about blood types is because I came from research. I understand that. So maybe that's why I talk about it. But why aren't people talking about blood types? Like that is like the most important thing. It's not the most important thing, but you should know it. You should know who you're mating with. You know how many babies are being born properly now because I've shared that blood types matter? You should only mate with those who are of your similar species. All this interspecies is causing you mental illness. You mate with too many draconians, you'll just be mentally ill. You'll be cold as heck. You'll start cutting yourself because you won't realize that you don't feel anything because you're mixed with a species that is non-feeling. They don't have the same propensity of emotions. These beings are emotionless. So you always wonder why you see all these young people who are detached and far removed. It's because they've been homogenized and not even known it because their parents were sleeping with other species. I only mate with my own. I only create children with my own. That's what I want. Is that wrong? Absolutely not. And I would beg to differ and sit with someone to say, why wouldn't you tell someone to have healthier children, to have healthier genetic displacement, that they should mate with those who are better for and qualified for mating? We weren't meant to mate with all these different species of beings on here. It isn't natural. If you ever see hybrids, they always have issues mentally. Mental illness comes from improper breeding. If you knew that someone had mental illness in their family, you wouldn't breed with them. There isn't anything wrong with you making a choice to breed with people who have healthy people in their families. Even normal things like lying is a genetic quality. People who have certain palate preferences, that's a genetic quality. Certain mannerisms are genetic qualities. These are all genetic qualities that show up in children when you give birth to them. So the fact of the matter is, why would there be criticism of me denoting that that mating matters?
If you marry into a family where the father is a womanizer, chances are you're going to have a son who's a womanizer. If you marry into a family where there's a heightened amount of homosexuality, you will have children that have homosexuality as their primary disposition. It is a fact. You pick those, just genetic qualities are not just internally, they come out on a phenotype level, but they also come out with propensities. It's what I did research for so many years. So I'm just saying, be mindful. Even with my daughters, they have me and my ex-husband's qualities to the T. One is very recluse. She's much more artistic. She doesn't like to be bothered with people all the time. The other one's outgoing, always wants to be out. This is me and my ex. The same personalities. One doesn't like oatmeal because her daddy doesn't like oatmeal. She doesn't like certain textures in her mouth. That's her father. Okay? So I always tell her young sea stars, because sea stars are much more, you have a choice. I tell the young women you have a choice in who you can mate with, okay? Make better decisions in who you mate with, because you will regret giving birth to chaotic children because you won't be able to sleep. If you're having sex with draconians, draconians are very cold, ill-mannered, very primal, okay? And those are the type of sociopaths that go around murdering people and can go and drink a coffee right afterwards. That's what draconians, it doesn't make them negative, but that's a species disposition. It just is. That's their disposition. Blood types matter. And blood types don't matter skin color. Let me state that again, because I think a lot of time, hold on, let me plug in my phone. I don't like plugging in my phone because of the radiation, family, but I got to do it because you're about to be let off. Okay. Blood types matter. So if you have a lighter skin, okay, so Thomas, my Viking, big up to Thomas. Thomas, my Viking friend, right? Thomas is from the Old English. He's from the diaspora royal lineage. He is O positive. I am O positive, okay? He's seemingly European. I'm seemingly from the native indigenous Africano diaspora, okay? But we share the same genetics. Thomas is attracted to me more so than he would be attracted to a woman who is O negative, because I am his gene pool, okay? So I don't really go about complexions. The only time I tell you to be careful with complexionism, because that's an issue in this matrix at this time. And I just think that because there's so many negative feelings about brown people, I always say be careful with people going into lunar families who have systemic racism in their families, because that is also a predisposition. So even though genetically they might have a commonality in ancestors, the programming is real. Okay, and programming will disturb your children. So even if you're cool with each other, you both lunar and brown person, and then you mate, the child will be chaotic because they come from really racially mental illness. Racial issues is mental illness. People who have issues with races, quote unquote, there's no such thing as races. There's different species. But if someone has an issue with complexion, that's a mental illness. Okay, and that usually comes from capping in the genomes. They've been homogenized somewhere in the gene pool. Okay, homogenized, and they have a cap on their consciousness. Means that's how they're prejudiced. So if you have that in your gene pool and you mate as a brown person, you mate with a lunar who has that in their family, or vice versa, that child will have mental issues because they'll be fighting themselves inside. Okay, because our society is not prepared for them. Our society has created the adversity with complexions, and that child will suffer under that tyranny. Because I see it as someone, I'm more seasoned than most of you. My mother was a teacher, and I was a teacher. I've seen it in every way. I've traveled to almost every country, and I will tell you, the most devastating thing I see often is mixed children who hate themselves. Because the mother may have straighter hair, and that's considered in society to be a better quality. So that child with nappy or naughty or curly hair will always hate themselves. They do. And I think this is a conversation nobody else will have, but it does. These little brown children that come from lunar women hate themselves. I see it every day. And I also discourage from lunar families adopting dark brown children because they ruin the child's mindset. And they're not purposefully doing it, but brown children that are adopted by white families hate themselves. They do. And I don't care what anyone says, I've seen it. Okay? Because hair is a big thing in our society, and children that have what's considered to be kinky coarse hair, it's considered to be negative. And whenever you have families that don't have that hair, the mothers can't do hair that they don't acknowledge. They're having a child with some, a darker, form of themselves, but the child suffers. They do. And the hair is a big, big deal in the brown community because it's one of the qualities that distinguishes the different roles of beings that have been suppressed and depreciated and egregiously monopolized. And we have to make those discussions. So I say, I don't say, because many of us come from mixed people, we're not saying that, but mental illness usually comes with mixed people. It does, because it's so much trying to identify with one side or the other, and the matrix, even though we're going through another time and a shift where that will be healed because everybody will mix up, but because we're not there yet, there's a lot of issues with that. So I always tell lunar mothers, this is my advice. You should not necessarily want to have brown children if you're not capable of raising a brown child, because still in this matrix, that is one of the number one projections, and it is mental illness. And if your family does not love the brown man that you chose or the brown woman you chose, you are creating a child that will hate themselves and always feel that lesser disposition. It's my personal opinion. It's what I've known. So I just say that. And along with lunar families who adopt brown children, I would suggest you don't do so. And I hate to say that because they say, oh, well, should you leave them in the hood? Yes, you should, because that child will grow up in a more privileged disposition with self-hate. We have a little girl now who hates herself. Her and her sister hate themselves. The mother's blonde, really, her mom is the bomb.com. There was two. The mom is the bomb.com. She raised 2 brown children from here, from the States. She didn't go to Africa. She got them from here. The children have a lot of emotional issues. They have privilege. They're wealthy. They come from a wealthy family. They hate themselves because their mother has straight blonde hair and they want to be like their mother, and they hate their skin, and they hate that they look different from their white families because they see the differences in how their mother gets treated and the little children in the family get treated that are lighter and lunars. So I'm just saying, so just be mindful, family. This is a conversation that you won't hear because we have so many wonderful mixes of people on our platform, but this is absolutely coming from a state of love and wanting the best for each child. And we have to make choices in our life that give our children a higher disposition and make sure we adhere to things that we know in society will cause strife in their lives. We have to do that. When you don't choose from a disposition of knowing and being empathetic and understanding of cultural differences and cues and idiosyncrasies in the society, you will make children that are suffering. You will. So we have to be knowledgeable. Let's see, I've noticed the mixed children with brown mothers have better. Yes, brown mothers make healthier children's self-esteem because the children always identify with the mother. So yes, a brown mother will give children, even if they're very fair, a brown mother, because she lives in a world of that kind of, she knows what the world is, her family will most likely be accustomed to having light children. Brown people have so many different complexions in their family, they're fine with it. Lunar families may not have that. They may just have one set of just light, very fair people, and then that one brown child or those few brown children. Brown people come from so many different complexions that a light-skinned brown child or a mixed child will be absorbed in that family well and usually fine, unless they have some mental illness in their family. That's all. So this is, complexions don't matter, but in the realm and the scheme of how things are projected out in this matrix, you got to be mindful and you have to take that in consideration. It's different species that matter the most to me. Okay, so if you're a negative roost and you're a positive roost, if the female is a positive roost, she can choose from a negative roost as long as he's in her same. If it's like an O, like me as an O positive, I could choose an O negative and mate with him properly and create healthy children. Okay, but a O positive woman shouldn't be attracted to, nor should she try to mate with a positive roost, because by the nature of her being a different species, regardless of complexion, she could hurt the baby in her womb. She can't really properly give birth to a proper baby because they're a different species. This is my opinion. So I just say roosts matter more so than complexion. Complexion only matters in the realm of the matrix, okay? In the future, we'll all look the same. The earth is going to go back to the original way it looked, with women who look seemingly like regular. It'll probably, I don't know if it's going to be all women, but it's going to be a matriarchal system. So, women, everybody will be tan at least in the future. It's a fact.
So that's all it is. So complexion is only an issue now. It's just because of the type of beings that were here creating those kind of coups. That's all. It's a beautiful time on the planet. So love everybody and no, let me take that back. You don't have to love everybody, but you should respect people's differences and accept that everyone is properly showing up the way they do. So if one person has lighter hair and one person has darker hair, one person has curlier hair, one person has frizzier hair, it shouldn't matter to you. Their content, who they are, their frequency, how they show up in the world, the things that they do, that should matter to you utmost. So everything else is just, that's all extra. It's like extra frosting on the cake. That's all. All right, family, I've done talked to you so much. I appreciate you joining, and welcome to the Galactic Federation of Light, my family. We are the Galactic Federation of Light. We show up. We are the representation of the galactic families. We are here to bring back a healthy homeostasis to this planet. Many of us have volunteered to be here to make sure that we hold a healthy disposition in order to create a wonderful field that will allow for our return into what Mother Earth originally was, which was a healthy planet that had cohesive beings existing on her and in her. Okay, so it's a beautiful time. You know, big up to the family in California. Cali, make sure you send me some pictures. I'm excited to see all the footage of the UFOs that I'm presuming they might be in the sky for the next couple of days. And please give me some seismic activity. I would love to see what's going on underneath the floors of Cali. And for the Oregon family, please let me know if you know anything more about the cattle mutilation. I would love to know more information regarding that. But I hope everyone's well. Sent you the Cali videos. Oh, and Instagram voyeur, I'll check it out. Thank you. I'm gonna check it out. I gotta check all my emails and Instagram. We do our late night talks on Instagram. We have so much fun. But we'll talk for days. Instagram is like even though they like to kick me off sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Let me get my radiation off of here. All right, family, so I think that's it. I think I kind of stayed on topic for the most part. Thank you for all the loving support. Thank you for donations. Some of you make let me say this. Thank you for the donations. You don't really have to. I appreciate the donations for the sanctuary. I forget that I allow for donations to the sanctuary. So thank you for Craig. Thank you for the donation from Craig. Thank you for the donation from Lisa. Thank you. Thank you for the donation from Thomas. I think it was Thomas. Thomas, thank you for the donation. And there's one other person. Thank you. Oh, Susan. Thank you for the donation, Susan. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Terry. I think Terry made a donation. Thank you, Terry. So thank you for all the donations. I appreciate it. I wasn't expecting it because I'm doing a conference, but I appreciate it. And that goes all to my little ones. All the donations are going to the little ones. They're going to do the sanctuary for the animals and my sanctuary. So that's anything that I get extra will go to the little ones. My daughters decided that they want, and also those who are going to be living on the sanctuary, they decided they wanted to help the animals and give sanctuary to those animals that have been abused or hurt and bring them back to good health. So big up to those who are doing that. All the resources will go to them. All right. So thank you, family. I love you. Have a masterful day. I'm going to go get my Vita Bowl right now. I'm not going to change. I have my flip-flops on. I'm going to keep my flip-flops on for this. I know I give too much information. I have these flip-flops. I love my flip-flops from, remember I told you I bought these from Brazil? They're called Havaianas. Havaiana? Is that how you pronounce it? Havaianas? I love these. I got my Havaianas on right now. I'm gonna keep these on because I could kick them off. Like when I want to go barefoot, I could just kick off my flip-flops. I'm turning into like one of those moms that brings up too much information on us. It's so crazy. Anyway, family, I love you. Have a masterful day, and we shall chat. Peace. If I could ever turn it off.